Hey guys, welcome to Rosie's Dessert Spot. In this episode, I'll be teaching you how to make a frozen Elsa cake doll. For the doll, I've used a specific cake tin that's like a dress shape. I've sprayed it with a little bit of canola, put in some flour, and I'm just rotating so the flour sticks to that oil spray, and that way our cake will come out from the oven much easier from the cake pan. I've used a red velvet recipe here, and I'll leave a link for that in the description box below. And then bake that at 180 degrees. Mine took about an hour and 10 minutes because it is a pretty thick cake. And then to cut off the very bottom, I'm using a serrated knife and just scoring around the side, sawing it in a little bit and then rotating. I just follow these steps all the way around the cake. And then at the very end, we just sort of shave off the excess to make it nice and flat. Then mark in two different sections so you can cut it into 3 layers. And then rotate on your turntable to create a bit of a line or a guide to cut through, and just saw that serrated knife through as you rotate. And take a bit of cream cheese frosting, and I'll also have the recipe for that in the description box, and put on your very first cake layer. In a piping bag, I'm piping about 1/2 centimeters worth of cream cheese frosting onto the cake, and then adding on my second layer, making sure it's centered, and then pressing it down, and continue with the rest of the layers. Like so. And then I'm taking the frosting and adding it to just those spaces in between and the very bottom. Using a spatula, I'm going to press that in, making sure that all the air pockets are removed, and creating a bit of a crumb coat. So that's just going to catch all the excess crumbs to make sure it doesn't get into our final layer of frosting. Then take off any excess, and then pop that into the fridge for about 10 minutes. I'm going to score 2 lines on the side of my cake, and this will be my guide for where I'm going to pipe the underskirt. Here I'm using a 9127 tip, and I'm creating upside down C's. So I'm just kind of working my way all the way from one end of that line that I drew to the other side, the other line, and then ending it right on there and flicking it upwards to close that off. Then keep going with that same motion, same pattern up the cake, and be sure to overlap it slightly with the bottom layer that we just piped, and continue that all the way up the cake. I'm also creating a bit of an underskirt around the very bottom, going all the way around. It should look something like that, and they're much tighter C's, they're a lot closer together. Now to make the color version, I have some white and some blue buttercream. The white has a very thin slit, the blue is cut a lot wider, and then with the very pointy kind of thinner side of the metal tip, I'm going to add the white buttercream so it lines up with the skinny side. Then add the blue on top, make it nice and tight, and start piping on your skirt. So I'm making a much broader C here, and I'm moving the piping bag up and down kind of to make that really cool pleated sort of look. How it's all bunched up. And continue that all around the cake, making those C's and making sure to overlap that underskirt that we had before. Continue that all the way around to look something like that. And then to make the darker color, I'm taking out just the blue. I'm going to put it back into a container and add some more gel food color here by AmeriColor in sky blue. And blend that through. Then return it back into the piping bag. Flatten that out a little bit so it fits back into the main piping bag, and continue to pipe. And you'll do that for every layer of skirt that you make. You'll make it darker every time. If you wish, you could also just keep it one color, maybe do a maximum of 3 colors if you like, but that's how you go about changing the skirt color. And then just continue overlapping and making those sort of bunched C shapes. And you'll notice as you start, and when you end, you'll create a much tighter dress so it overlaps the underskirt that we created. And now we're going to close off the dress. So I'm creating a much tighter C. You can tell they're a lot smaller here, and it's overlapping on top of that white section that we had before. We're going to complete a full circle of this, and then create even smaller ones right on top. And I've got some sky blue fondant that I've coloured, and I'm cutting it to fit just on top of the waist of the doll. So above the waist, and I'm adding a bit of water to the doll just so the fondant will stick to it. And then press it down against the doll and turn it over and pinch the fondant. I'm using a little spatula here to cut off the excess and then give that a pinch and press it down. Then I'm wrapping the legs in Glad Wrap, and that'll make it nice and safe for us to put into the cake. Cutting out a bit of a section here into my cake so I can fit the doll. Now, if you're putting her up to her waist into the cake, you'll need to cut a hole big enough to fit her waist, otherwise the cake's going to split. So it was only a small hole here, so I'm only adding her in till the thighs. And take your piping bag and pipe around that again, and I did another 2 layers, just until the skirt reached the top of her dress, / her top. And you can tell as I keep going up, those seams keep getting smaller and smaller. And like last, I'm adding a bit of a belt to separate the top and the skirt, just to make it look a lot cleaner that way too. That's one of the very easy ways that you can create a pleated skirt on a frozen doll cake. Thanks guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this quick video tutorial, and I'll catch you next time.